Alrighty, I think I'm back. I should be back. It seems like the microphone's picking up a little bit. Alrighty, so I've got the fan on. I'm going to put my second fan on just to double check. Now, if you guys can't hear this fan is obnoxiously loud, so I don't know what the heck is going on if that doesn't work. Welcome back, Adam. Yeah, so you were saying that Facebook is technologically advanced. I don't blame you. I kind of hate Facebook myself. If it weren't for the fact that friends from my very, very, very first mission trip back in the age of the dinosaurs, I probably would give up Facebook altogether because there are some people that it's just really hard to contact any other way. But yeah, when I was watching Heart of Mishi's channel and she mentioned digital minimalism, half of me wanted to just jump right back in there because I don't know. I'm kind of starting to dislike all of social media. Twitter, I only have Twitter because I was worried about Kappa right during the heyday of 2019 when everyone was worried about Kappa, and I kind of just never got rid of them. And then, whatchamacallit, Discord I only have because I have a friend. There's a book called Digital Minimalism. Ooh, tell me about that when you want to, Zoe, because I'd love to hear about it. OPS. Oh, that's official personality system, right? No, objective personality. Gotcha. I was in a bunch of groups on Facebook, and then I got tired of the notifications, and I got tired of the drama, and I got tired of. Okay, guys, you guys aren't going to believe me when I tell you this, but I was on this page. I'm not going to name the whole thing because it was a really long name, but basically it was a page for Catholics who were single to gather together. One of the pages was only for single Catholics. Like, you had to be single. You could not be in a relationship. You could not be married. And I just thought, okay, cool. I'm single. I'm a Catholic, whatever. And basically, there was this girl who video games. And of course, you know me. When I meet a girl that likes video games, I tend to get very excited, even if I'm not interested in her. It doesn't mean I can't be excited in what she's interested in. So I was like, oh my gosh, that's so cool that you like that. And then she said, oh, I'm glad you approve. Let's get on Facebook chat. I said, oh, you betcha. And so we talked for about an hour, give or take, maybe 2 hours. And after that, I thought the chat went really well. But then after that, she kind of just disappeared. So then I messaged her back after a week and I was like, what the heck is going on? We had a great chat. Why didn't you message me back? She said, because you didn't fall in love with me. And I said, after only an hour? I can't fall in love with someone after that quick of a time. So that, coupled with other instances, like when I tried to compliment a girl and she said that I was patronizing her, I just said, I give up. If I never date again, good riddance. I've got plenty of friends to keep up with. Yeah, wow, indeed. And I think she was like really young, not minor young, but like young adult, like 18, 19, 20, like one of those adults that are just barely trying to figure out that they're not teenagers anymore. And I'm a little bit too old for that kind of immaturity. Clean desktop. Oh, I wish I could have zero inbox emails, Zoe. Also, I'm not really much of a reader, so even if it was a nice simple book, I probably wouldn't read it anyway. But no, I think I use social media pretty sporadically compared to most people. I only read the very top thing on my news feed. I never scroll through anything else. I hardly ever post on Facebook anymore unless it's something that's really something I've deeply thought out. I don't really check Twitter except if I'm checking Nintendo, and even then, I only check that every couple of days because Nintendo tends to repeat stuff. Discord, I only check to see if my friend is streaming, and that's usually only when I really like the game that she's streaming. Now that she's done with Zero Time Dilemma, I haven't really tried. I didn't know Reddit was social media. That's interesting. Yeah, I used to do that, Adam, where I would live on, well, I wouldn't say I would live on it, but I definitely would spend a long time flipping through the homepage and looking through the things on these websites. And then I'd go on the pages and I'd get into discussions with people there. Now, in fairness, these pages did help me like discover myself a little bit more and come to more conclusions about who I was and how I thought. The problem was that there was too many jerks to deal with. So now, one thing I don't want to do, I don't want to just get rid of people for the sake of saying I want to clean out my friend group, because if I've learned anything in the past several years, it's that some people just don't like to keep in contact with someone every single day. There are people in my friends list that I haven't talked to in years, and then I'll go to talk to them again, and they'll pretend as though it was just yesterday when we spoke. And I'll be like, oh, did I do something wrong? They'll be like, no, life just happened. So, in that respect, that's why I never delete someone from my Facebook unless they're actually legitimately toxic. Like if they're legitimately like causing me a great deal of pain, because everyone hurts you to some degree. But if they're like bad, like if I don't know, they have an addiction or they're outright sinful, and you've tried to be patient with them, and you've tried to set your boundaries, those are the people I get rid of, which I think I've only done it maybe twice in the entire time I've had Facebook. So that tells you how patient I am. Speaking of patient, Adam, when we met, I told you that well, I don't know if I told you specifically, but I told someone on that trip, you probably overheard it, that I was contemplating whether or not I was going to get rid of my girlfriend or not. I ended up breaking up with her the day after the camp. So you guys must have really helped me out a lot, because man, I did not realize how toxic she was. Still haven't gotten another girlfriend since then, but I'm sort of in the mindset where I'm kind of okay with either option. If I stay single, I've got a lot of really good friends and that can help with budgeting. If I get into a relationship, that might help with companionship and not feeling abandonment. Either option is totally okay. I'm just going to see what happens. Getting jealous? What do you mean by that? Well, I guess you don't have to get into it. Yeah, I had a girlfriend from 2017 to 2018, and it was good for the first half of it, but then near the end, it ended up being really toxic. I I wouldn't say I talk to her that often. I haven't told her like shut up and never talk to me again, but I've also made it very clear that I want, if she does reach out to me, it to be very sporadic, because she's now married and has kids. Yeah, it's hmm. No, it's the kind of situation where if I were to talk to her very often, it would be messy, to put things simply. I mean, if you want to know the whole story about what happened between her and me, there's plenty of YouTube videos where I talk about the abuse I've been through and the weird people in my life. I still have my playlist of all the videos that she and I did together if you guys want to be like, ooh, I want to see what Paul was like in a romantic setting. So they're still there, because I'm hoping that if she ever watches my channel again, that she can learn from her own words, and maybe that'll help her out. Oh, that kind of jealousy. I see. Well, that's why I've learned not to look at the news feed, because man, some of my friends, I don't know, I don't know if this is just a girl thing or if this is just my friends thing, but I've noticed that a lot of teenage and young adult females have a tendency to like really like to hang out in packs and be with each other. And then they act like borderline lesbian around each other, but they're actually not. And a lot of them have boyfriends. So it's like, make up your mind, people. Are you lesbian or are you not? Stop acting cuddly with people if you're not going to tell me what exactly is going on. And that frustrates me a lot, because there seems to be a big double standard. Like if guys did that, it would be considered gross, terrible, and horrendous. But if girls do it, it's totally fine. Like, I get that there are certain things that are different between men and women, but I think there should be less differences. I think certain things should just be um, I think certain things should be a lot more evened out. Oh, bummer. I thought that was my doctor's appointment. Oh, well. Really, Zoe? So are you me where, well, I tend to hang around mostly girls, but I take it you hang around mostly guys? Yeah, Adam, I definitely pray for her. I don't pray for her every day. I probably should. I probably should, but the thing is that I pray for people that I really care about first and foremost. So usually when I'm praying to people, I say like, please help this person who's my great friend, and this person who's my great friend, and this person who's my great friend. So maybe now that you guys mention it, no, no worries. We all understand that that's the context here. Yeah, I think I think a lot of people, when they're really young, they tend to think that the opposite gender is really gross and has cooties, including yours truly. But I think as we get older, we start to realize that's a bunch of baloney. And we also start to realize that when you're around people of the same gender, they have a tendency to say more than they would around the opposite gender. Like my guy friend, well, not my guy friends in particular, but I know a lot of guys that when they hang out, they'll say, like, now that the girls aren't here, let's talk about this. And it's like, shouldn't you be able to talk about this when you're around girls? If you have to say, like, let's talk about a certain thing when girls aren't in the room, that tells me that it's probably something inappropriate to begin with. So that's why I like hanging around both guys and girls so that we can talk about just about anything. Because most of my friends are that type where they will talk about just about anything. Me too, Zoe. I totally would agree with you there. It happens relatively sporadically in my life, but it's better than nothing. Like a lot of my friends average hanging out with me once a month, which is totally fine by me. I'm the type of guy where I don't need to be with people every single day. In fact, there are days when I just love the concept of having the whole house to myself. But I also don't like feeling totally abandoned. I want there to be at least some people in my life so that if I really need them, I can hang out with them. But it's not like I constantly need them breathing on me and calling me every single day. I don't need all that. But I wouldn't like it if say all of them died and I was the only man left on earth. That would make me very upset. Yeah, a lot of my friends live an hour away or more from me, but a lot of them are willing to make the drive, so that really helps. And then my best friend actually lives in my old house, so I'm going to go on a road trip to go see him this Saturday. So if you guys are wondering, where's your videos, Paul? Then that's the answer. That's cool that you have a roommate though, Zoe, because I bet that means that at least to a certain extent, you're never like ridiculously lonely, which really helps. That's a real shame that your best friend lives so far away. My best friend used to be like that, not the different continent thing, but he used to live like really far away from me, and now he still does, but at least we've established that we're best friends, so that really helps. I I'm gonna at least have a fun time going to the restaurant near there because I used to work at the Culver's near where he lives, and so I plan on taking a pit stop there before I go to his house. And so I hope to meet a lot of my old work buddies and my former managers. That's not a bad idea, Adam. My problem is that reptiles don't have free will, so I wouldn't be able to get into an intelligent conversation with them. Oh, you guys are funny today. Yeah, well, I can't specifically speak for reptiles, but I have been really getting into the stuff that my sister tells me about horses, because apparently horses are way more intelligent than people give them credit for. And they've even been known for some really incredible healings. Like there are kids on the autism spectrum that have never spoken before. And then after they ride a horse, that'll be the first time they've ever opened their mouth to speak. Animal Islands, huh? It's just a shame you guys haven't played Animal Crossing, because if you want an Animal Island, Animal Crossing New Horizons will have you fixed. You're the only human to be found with a bunch of animals. And boy, do those animals get repetitious. A therapeutic horse center. That sounds so cool. I I volunteered at a horse ranch back when I was on mission trip, but we didn't actually work with the horses most of the time. The most we did was one day I got to ride a horse, and another day I was teaching a little girl how to ride. My main job was just making sure she didn't fall over. There was like a staff member that actually worked at the barn full time that was like guiding her, and I was just kind of on the side, like ready to grab her if she fell off, kind of thing. Yeah, my brother used to be afraid of horses. I think he still is because he's afraid of heights. But my sister, she's a really good horseback rider. I would like to lead a horse in a circle, but I have a feeling that I won't be able to anytime soon. Yeah, the last time I rode a horse was way, 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 way back. Probably 2012, I'd like to say, was the last time I rode a horse. So, and it wasn't very fun because uh, the girl in front of me happened to be standing at well because the way it worked was that I live in this well I used to live in the city at the time. I live in the country now, but back then I lived in the city, so there were no horses for thousands of miles, and so I had no idea what I was doing with horses. So this girl who was like she lived on a farm, she was a country girl, she was leading the horse that I was on. The problem was that the way that she stood happened to be so that as my legs were like jostled by the horse, I would end up kicking her from behind. And I would be like, sorry, sorry, I don't mean to be kicking you. It's just that the gravitational force is forcing my foot. So that was a little bit embarrassing, but she didn't seem to mind. She probably was used to it. I have never ridden a camel before. That sounds so much fun. I think my parents did because they took a trip to Israel one year. So they've actually gotten to touch their wedding rings to some of the holiest places on earth. I believe they saw, if I'm not mistaken, I believe they saw the place where the angel Gabriel visited Mary, the place where Jesus was born, the place where he was crucified. I I don't know if they actually got to touch the place where he was baptized, but I think they saw it. They saw the place where Jesus proclaimed Peter to be the first pope. They saw pretty much everything in the Bible. Wait, you rode them in the promised land? Oh, wow, I want to hear all about that. I would never be able to go to the promised land. I mean, I guess I could if I was forced to, but I definitely don't want to because I'm not a big fan of travel to begin with. So I have a tendency to only travel like an hour or two away. And if I have to go like out of state or on a trip, the most I could probably handle is 3 days. CHWC pushed it. CHWC really pushed me, but I would say that CHWC 2018 was probably the easiest out of all of them to not get homesick because I was so in my element. I had been miraculously healed, and I was also the associate staff member, so I felt considerably more useful than usual. Oh, wow. Camping trip in the promised land. I can't even. You have way more courage than I do, Zoe. I commend you for that. I feel like I wouldn't last a couple of seconds in that place. But I'm also not that great in the heat. I mean, I have two fans blowing on me, and I still feel like this isn't enough. Thank goodness you guys can't see underneath my shirt because I'd be covered in sweat right now. But speaking of this shirt, I actually made this for one of the mission trips that I went on. I took a plain white t-shirt and I scrunched it up and then I just put blue tie-dye in there and then I unrolled the shirt and this is the result. And I've had this for about, I'd like to say at least 7 or 8 years, possibly 10 years by now. So I tend to hang on to my shirts for a very long time. I have that Epic shirt that I always wear for some of my videos. I've had that for 10 years now. The thing about me is that it's really hard for me to gain weight. Like, I think I might have gained maybe 3 pounds in the past 10 years, and I usually lose them again once I gain them. So for me, I'm able to hold on to my t-shirts a lot longer than most people are because I don't really grow out of a whole lot of them. Yeah, tying this t-shirt was fun, but the one that was really fun, and I think I have this in some of my old videos, like the ones back in like 2017, when I had a plain white t-shirt and I put the words epic across the chest area, and then I sprayed. Oh, not a problem, Adam. But I'm glad you could show up regardless. I'm really glad that your family has been so loyal to me, especially because no one else from that mission trip has kept in touch with me except the people from my group. So that really means a lot to me. But yeah, so I sprayed the whole shirt, and so then when I peeled off the letters Epic, Epic was displayed in perfect white with like tie-dye all around it. I don't think I have it anymore, but I remember at the time it was one of the coolest t-shirts ever. If I ever do still have it, I'll probably dig it out and wear it for one of my new videos. Because nowadays I try not to have as many videos where I'm just talking in front of the camera unless I'm live streaming, just because I spent $400 on that capture card device and I want to put it to good use. But I also think back then I had kind of a mistaken mindset that people liked me because I was good at public speaking. But I think what I failed to realize is that this is a totally different audience than what I had when I gave speeches. So I needed to adjust my style. And I'd like to think that I'm still being 100% me. Like, I'm not being fake to you guys right now. This is how I actually talk. Maybe I'd be a little bit more excited and high strung and hands in the air if I actually saw you in person. But this is pretty close to how I talk to my actual, like, in person friends when I'm around them. And I'd like to say that I'm mostly myself when I do my videos. I don't try to put on a personality unless if I'm specifically saying in the video like I'm imitating other people. You know, we almost had a shirt like that, Adam, for my third mission trip, but the group leader vetoed it mainly because of me, because I thought that that was a little bit inappropriate, and I didn't want to have to deal with that. But a couple of people made one anyway, and they didn't make it the official group T-shirt, but they decided just to have it as like a keepsake for their own spare time. And some of them ended up wearing it to the camp anyway, despite my complaints. Yeah, I have like some of the most exotic T-shirts out there, and it's mainly just because I go to so many different events and conferences and mission trips and yada 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 that I think I might have some of the world's rarest T-shirts right now, if you consider the state of things. Well, what helps for me, Zoe, is that I do a lot of thinking, and a lot of the stuff that I think about is stuff that I've been thinking about for years. And you guys just happen to remind me of that stuff. Or it's something that I've talked about before, but then you guys say, oh, I haven't told you that story of the time that someone put deodorant in the ceiling. So then I have an excuse to retell the old stories. And also, when I was working at Henry Ford as a dishwasher, I had a lot of really slow periods where we'd just be standing around doing nothing, waiting for the dishes to come. So a lot of times my buddies and I would try to like do comedic routines to keep us from getting bored. And so that sort of helped me perfect my stand-up comedian routine. Yo, say so. Welcome back. I was actually afraid that you wouldn't come back to my stream because I thought maybe I had crossed a line in the last stream. So glad to see that either that wasn't the case or that Rower is your way of saying, Paul, I'm mad at you. How dare you be so mean to me in the last stream? Oh, That would certainly get me bored if I talked about philosophy. But I did teach my coworkers about basic, whatchamacallit. Um, oh, not a problem, Adam. Thanks for joining us for so long. I did tell my coworkers about God. Admittedly, it had to be very simple, but they still really appreciated the basic facts. Like when I say, hey, Jesus even died for the annoying bit of scum that stuck to the plate, and little things like that. Yeah, dishwashing was great, but then it started getting bad near the end, and I'm glad that I quit when I did, because man, I was gonna go crazy if I worked there any longer. Oh, well, I'm glad that you have found your niche in dancing, Saiso. By Naj, you mean, was that a typo, or did you mean to say that I didn't cross a line? But anyway, Saiso, you'll be glad to know that I finally beat World's End Club. I mean, I've beaten it eons ago, but just in case you were like, dang, Paul should really get on to that because he likes Danganronpa. Not only did I beat it, but I also made a reference to, no, that was a different video. If you look at my compilation of fighters from Super Smash Bros. For 3DS and Wii U, all their classic mode routes, I referenced Danganronpa in there. So, knowing you, you'll probably be the one to catch it out of everyone that I know. Hello, Robert. Did you change your name or something? Because I have a feeling that I know you from somewhere. I'm not sure what since you changed your name. But if you do know me, hello again. If I don't know you, welcome. Either way, you're welcome here. I guess I shouldn't have made it so that you're not welcome at all. Anyway, yeah, so since you just got here, basically I've been telling them about stories of my mission trip and reminiscing about the past. I mean, when do I ever not reminisce about the past? But also giving a progress. Oh, you guys just reminded me. I also wanted to let you guys know that I'm very hard at work trying to beat Miitopia, which some of you might be like, Paul, I'm not a gamer. I could care less about Miitopia. But I think what makes that game particularly nice is that you can create anyone you want to be the characters. You can cast the villain, the main character, every side character. You can essentially create your own characters. So I happen to have Monokuma as the genie in that game, and I have Sans as an explorer, and I have characters from my novel that are in my party. And it's just a lot of fun to see characters that you made populate the game. So I think if you guys ever wanted a really simple game where you could say, I'm in the game, then Miitopia would be perfect for you. Did I just lose you guys, or is it just, are there technical difficulties here? Because I feel like it's taking an awfully long time to load the chat. Oh, there we go. As soon as I typed, of course. From the Yellow Kazoo? Or Kalamazoo? Wait, I never went to Kalamazoo. But I also had an encounter with a Yellow Kazoo on my first mission trip, so that could mean several things. But I think I get what you're saying. Well, if you're from the Yellow Kazoo stream, then you're automatically a friend of mine because she has really good community. If you guys haven't seen the Yellow Kazoo on YouTube, she is one of the most real people I've ever met on YouTube. She's a streamer, so if you don't like video games, you're probably not going to like what she does. But if you do like video games, she's very authentic. Like, she gives off her genuine personality. She doesn't try to be something that she isn't, even if that means falling asleep in the middle of a stream because she's just too tired. She's going to do it because, dang it, that's what she feels like doing. And you all know how much I love authenticity. And also, Yellow Kazoo and I did a collab for my Super Mario Party review. Brown R thingy? What do you mean by that, Robert? I mean, I recommend a lot of YouTube channels. But I think a lot of the channels that I really like either have stopped making YouTube videos or they kind of have a float by my own boat kind of thing. Like I could say, ooh, the Wii viewer, he's amazing. But then he also has a tendency to kind of like do whatever he wants. Like people will give him suggestions on what to do for his channel. He'll be like, nah, I'm still going to do me. But then you also have people like Miss Nicotendo, which is one of my favorite. Oh, if you feel like going to go watch her right now, that's totally fine, Zoe. In fact, I would kind of encourage it because she actually makes money from this stuff and she's like helping, she's like trying to make a living. Me, I'm just talking because I can. So if you guys want to go and hang out with her, that's totally fine. Totally fine. I have no objections whatsoever. Might even be an excuse to go to the lake if no one shows up. Mm. I'm drinking my water extra slowly. Brown background and a white R. Oh, I get it. You mean your profile picture changed. Okay, I see. Well, that's totally fine, Zoe. So, what was I gonna say? Well, the new profile picture looks pretty good. You guys know that I have an affinity for the color blue, so that really helps. So, Zoe, I was just curious if you could tell me more about, I guess, since you were mentioning objective personality earlier, I was really curious what you thought about, like, where does it differ from the Myers-Briggs system? And also, like, what do you think would be my result if I were to take it compared to what I am now? Because I'd be really curious if maybe, like, I don't know, objective personality called me something different than what I actually am. Because, man, most of my life I've had an identity crisis. That's interesting because you seemed to totally change when you took objective personality. Or was it because you hadn't self analyzed yourself in so long? Because some people, sometimes, depending on their mood, that can affect how the test results go. Like, I got ENFJ back when I first learned about Myers Briggs. And I know now that that's totally not me in any way whatsoever. I think it's just because I was so like on fire for God and wanting to serve everyone that I think extroverted feeling came across as a dominant. But I think that was more of just the faith. And there's not really a letter for faith. Oh, I see. Yeah, that's definitely something Myers-Briggs doesn't really talk about. But it does talk about developing the weaker functions. Where did the 2 likes come from, you guys? I mean, I appreciate it, but dang, I don't know what I did to make this likable. Oh, you guys crack me up. Yo! Fear, fear, I'm gonna get it right one of these days. Fearum Industries, welcome back. Well, I guess you can call yourself a fanatic. Just a third like? Oh my gosh, you guys, you're gonna make me feel like Justin Bieber. Which is, I guess it could be a bad thing. I now have more likes than I do have people in the stream. That's funny. Yeah, we were actually just talking about Mission Trip earlier, and we were talking about how the day after the mission trip was when I broke up with my girlfriend at the time. So I'm really grateful that you guys were either praying for me or getting my brain straight because man, do I feel like a burden was lifted off my shoulder. Oh, I see. So if I'm understanding you correct, Zoe, then you're basically saying that I'm more in the past and you're more in the moment. Because I'm trying to keep it relatively newbie friendly. Yup, I am the Catholic Gaming Nerd. What, does it not show up as Catholic Gaming Nerd on the live stream? I mean, I am a Catholic and a gamer. Some people have questioned whether I should call myself a nerd or not, but it wouldn't flow better if I said the Catholic gaming geek. Actually, that does flow better now that I said that. Maybe I'll change that in the future if I ever get tired of this one, which I doubt it, because I was the Catholic Nintendo nerd for, I think, 5 years straight before I changed it to the Catholic gaming nerd because I was just getting fed up with Nintendo. Not to say I still won't play Nintendo's games. I mean, for crying out loud, I'm playing Miitopia. That's about as Nintendo-y as you can get. I just don't like Nintendo as a company. I think that they have a bunch of really annoying corporate policies that end up ruining the experience. Give me just 3 seconds, guys. 1, 2, 3. Okay, we're back. It was starting to get dark, so I wanted to put a light on, and now it looks like I'm super tanned. Weird. Yeah, that is very true, Zoe. I'm definitely a fact organizer. I'm the kind of guy where if I really miss an event, then I can relive it almost perfectly. Like, I may not be able to relive it minute by minute, but I can, like, go back and say, oh, I remember the route that it took to get from the program all the way to the bathroom. And I remember to the left of the bathroom was the escalator, and then there were the elevators next to the escalator, and next to the elevators was the water fountain. And yeah, I can just, like, go back and recall all of that information. So, for example, if we go to something that most of us in this stream know about, I could say, okay, so as we were looking at the School of the Deaf, we would go around the right side of the school, then turn right again, going under a big tree, down the stairs, to the left, there's the cafeteria. So I can still remember the route it took to get there. I can still remember in the cafeteria what the bathroom looked like and how it had that weird knock and the snack tables. And I remember there was a big table on the stage. And I remember the water jugs and the adult chaperone that I talked to my very first day and the 2 teenage girls that were newcomers at CHWC, so I had to teach them the ropes. And yeah, I have a very vivid recall of stuff that happened to me in the past, especially if I care about it. Because if I care about it, then I'm going to, like, doubly remember it. Of course, that could be a double-edged sword, because sometimes I remember stuff that I hate. Oh, the Age of Musketry. Yeah. I remember that too, Firam. I remember not only going through the doors that you would always hold open for me, but I remember those stairs that I would walk up were just so tiring. Because, oh man, it ends whenever I feel like it ending, honestly. Usually what I do is I use the water as an indicator because my voice ends up getting really sore if I talk too much. So I usually say when the water is out, that means my battery is out. But as of today, I'm going to try to go a little bit longer than I usually do just because this year people have wanted me to do streams more than any other year on my channel. And I just really want to do what you guys want for a change. Like, normally I try so hard to please myself on my channel. And it's like, you know what? If it weren't for you guys, it would just be called MeToo. So I'm going to try going as long as possible. I might have to abruptly head out, but thankfully, I just realized that I can see out my window if a car pulls in, and then I have to, like, respect that my parents are home. Yeah, those stairs were something else. They certainly gave me my exercise. So much exercise that if you watched my vlog video, you'll notice that my hair was all over the place because I was sweating from the stairs alone. Oh my gosh. Now I'm starting to remember the lounge area where it had the couches there, but I don't think it had one there because across from that was the nurse's office. That way was, no, the girls were on the floor below the guys. So that they took the elevator, which was to the right, and then there was the takeout desk for the merchandise. It's as though it just happened yesterday, and that was 3 years ago. Almost exactly 3 years ago. Wow, that's incredible. Because that was July 2018. Dang, time flies. Anyway, sorry, Zoe, I went on a little bit of a tangent. But in case you guys didn't know, mission trips are some of my favorite things to talk about. And when someone gets me started, it's hard for me to shut up. A couple of my friends have outright told me that it's literally going against their boundaries if I tell them mission trip stories. So that's why I constantly apologize to you folks, because I'm just like, well, they're tired of hearing about the mission trips, so maybe I shouldn't talk about them. I would like to go on more mission trips in the future, but whether I actually can or not is in question, because the parish that I went with, Sacred Heart, is currently going through a big reorganization effort. So I'm not even sure if Julie's still going to be there. And if she is, I'm not sure if she's ever going to do a mission trip again, and if she'll have the ability to do a fundraiser, even if she wants to do it. So it's really kind of up in the air, but I would say that if it's not CHWC, I'm probably just going to say no. Because CHWC, yes, it's a lot of work, but there's also elements of retreats and conferences in it. Like they have big dances and they have slow reflections, and there's also times where you can sit on a comfy couch. At least there was at the camp we went to. So I definitely would like to go back to CHWC. I mean, for crying out loud, I think I went on 8 mission trips, and I've only missed 2 in that whole time. No, actually, I think I've only missed 1. I have only missed 1. Because I missed the one in 2017 because I was just really angry at, well, I shouldn't say angry. I was satisfied with how 2016's camp worked out. And I thought, you know what? I've probably reached as many people as I can, and I should stop while I'm ahead. But then during 2017's camp, I went to Sacred Heart anyway to help the people that actually were going to help pack the vans. And then I smelled the carpeting of the vans. And then right then and there I said, aw, I want to go. But it was too late by then. They had to drive away. But that one little smell, I just said, I'm going. So I called up one of the fellow adult chaperones and we talked on the phone, and, well, the rest is history, because I ended up going on 2018's camp, and that ended up changing my life. I can only go if I'm in a chaperoning capacity, Zoe, because I'm over the age of participation. So that means that because it's primarily intended for teenagers and younger young adults, I would have to go as an adult leader. But for one, there has to be a youth group that wants to go so that I can chaperone. And 2, there has to be a group that's willing to set up a group that I can chaperone. 3, I have to see if Julie's even going to do it again. But I wouldn't be able to do it on my own because I'm not good at administration type of work. So I would probably not know where to start as far as calling up people and saying, yo, there's this cool mission trip. You want to go? I'd probably end up getting people hanging up on me. So I would definitely have to go as an assistant adult, which is what I did all of my previous mission trips, and I don't regret it. I think I do better as an assistant than as a leader anyway. Because I wouldn't be the one organizing the group. I would just be one of the chaperones. So, I would do whatever leadership responsibilities are needed. I just wouldn't, I wouldn't be the one, doing the phone calls and writing out the emails and any of that stuff. I would kind of just be, doing head counting, night watch, 4 corners, clean up, whatever adult duties that I have, I would do them. But as far as, the actual organizing the meetings. That's all Julie's. That's all Julie. I'm not going to stress myself out further by pretending to be a leader when I'm not. And I've had to teach on my own before for summer religious ed, and that was kind of annoying. But at least I had a teacher's assistant that really helped me. But I think I prefer being the teacher's assistant. Because even though it was fun to be able to plan out a lesson and say, like, okay, your cue is here, I also felt like if I ran out of things to say, I didn't know how to make up the lesson. So I ended up doing a lot of on-the-spot teaching, which normally I know you guys really like it when I'm on the spot, but when you're teaching a group of elementary school kids or middle schoolers, you really need to know what you're doing or they're going to walk all over you, sometimes literally. But yeah, middle school, oh my gosh, middle school is a miserable age. The problem with middle schoolers is that it's very rare to find one who's perfectly even-keeled. You've either got the middle schoolers that are so quiet that they never talk, or you've got the middle schoolers that are so hyper that they never shut up. Now, I get it. There are shy people and there are outgoing people in the world, but usually once you get to high school, you tend to like mix and match a little bit more. So like shy high schoolers will at the very least answer your questions and maybe will like give a short answer. Or the outgoing ones will say something like, oh, I'm sorry, I've been talking too much. You were saying? So they sort of learn to sort of balance it out. Whereas middle schoolers are like two polar ends of an extreme where if they're shy, they like never ever shut up, never ever talk because I'm so nervous. But if they're hyper, you have to literally sit my mouth shut to keep me from talking. Ugh, so annoying. Yeah, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if I was a robot. You know, it's actually not that dark outside. Nah, I'm gonna stream with you guys instead. I'm having too much fun. Honestly, I think I wouldn't have liked it as much going swimming anyway, just because when I'm at the lake, the people there tend to sort of be on their own because it's a family lake. So when I go to the lake all by my lonesome, I'm usually very much by myself, and I don't really have like either a bunch of kids or a husband or in my case a wife to hang around. So I'm kind of just like sitting there lamely, and then I look like an idiot if I decide to linger there because then it looks like I'm sunbathing or trying to get attention. And it's just like, yeah, I'm going to keep this sporadic so that people don't get the wrong idea. Oh, 11 through 13, the transition years. Well, I'm glad you have the patience for it, Zoe, because for me personally, I prefer to work with kids that are between the ages of 14 and 17. That's my age range that works. Yeah, if I actually read, that would be a good idea. Well, usually what I do when I go to the lake near my house is that I usually just sit in the water to get myself cooled down. I don't really actually active swim very much unless I'm in a public indoor pool because I have trouble with the heat. So if I swim too much in the lake, then that might get the sun on me. Oh, well, this particular lake that I go to, it's more accurate to say it's a giant puddle because it's surrounded on all sides but one with trees. And well, honestly, I don't think a whole lot of people like it very much because it seems a bit unsanitary. 14 through 7 has too much drama. I always thought 11 through 13 had the drama because they're still like adjusting to all their raging hormones. Whereas, I mean, high schoolers have a lot of raging hormones too, but at least they're kind of sort of developing their emotional maturity. So at the very least, I can have a conversation with them and feel like it's a somewhat intelligent conversation. Middle schoolers, on the other hand, they look like children to me. Except for one. There was one kid I knew in middle school who was like half a head taller than me, but he was only maybe 13. So kids like that just amaze me. But most middle schoolers are not like that. Not only are they still really small, but they're also really small-minded in terms of they really don't know how to reason things. Yeah, I think maybe that's why I have trouble with them, is that they're too childlike. Like, when I'm around, say, my niece, who's 5 months old, part of me is like, I really like how cute she is, but part of me is also like, but I also can't wait for her to get older so I can have an intelligent conversation with her. And then part of me is also hoping that my brother is a good enough parent that he'll get her through the miserable teenage years so that she won't go through what I did. Hopefully he learned from my mistake. But man, yeah, I love my nieces. They're so adorable. My one niece, she was born on Easter Sunday, and so as a result, she hasn't really developed a whole lot, but she's still so adorable. And I especially love that for my first niece, the one who's 5 months old, my brother keeps saying she looks like me, of all people. And it's like, okay, I didn't think the genetics carried over to uncles, but that's cool if I can have some family resemblance. Uh, yeah, I think it's true that high schoolers have a tendency to project their opinions of a person based on how they see themselves. Like if I saw myself as a failure, the teenagers would probably think I'm a failure. Whereas if I think that I'm a big success, then the teenagers will think I'm a success. And that has been the case for almost every trip that I've been on. Like on trips where I'm on top of the world and super bubbly and excited, people have said like I attract the girls like a magnet, but on the trips I tend to attract as much company as my energy levels are giving off. Well, you do the fighting for me then, Furim, because these muscles, the best, the best they're good at lifting is the crates at my current job training. Because I work train as a stalker at the moment, and so sometimes I have to like get down on my knees and lift up crates of milk, and it's actually a lot more fun than you would think, especially because the back was healed 3 years ago. So I feel like I can actually lift stuff up now, and I can feel like I'm a proper 20-something-year-old instead of having these lame moves. I wasn't even flexing, if you can believe that. So that's how wimpy they are. If I were flexing, I'd probably scare myself silly. I am so sorry, Furim. I totally forgot to ask how you were doing. And I think I forgot to ask how you were doing too, Zoe. I was just so excited to see you guys that I forgot basic etiquette. So my apologies. To answer your question, I have not watched Survivor before. I typically don't watch very many TV shows unless my sister does. The only TV show that I would watch that my sister doesn't is Once Upon a Time. Started watching with me, but then she stopped after season 5, which is certainly where most people stopped. But season 5 is when it started getting really good, in my opinion. So I don't know. I wish there was someone who could share my love of. I really want to say what happened in season 5, but I kind of don't, in case you guys watch it for yourself. But uh, season 5 really threw a wrench in what you would expect from a Once Upon a Time narrative, and that's the best thing I can say without giving it away. Yeah, fantasy shows are hit or miss. But Zoe, I think you would like Once Upon a Time more than most because the main character, Emma Swan, is basically female me. Well, not so much in the flashbacks, but like in the present day. Like the main character acts a lot like how I would act if I were a female and didn't grow up with a religious background. In fact, you may have noticed that most of my thumbnails for my videos are of Emma Swan, and that a lot of the things that she says are things that I say. And then Rumpelstiltskin, I mean, you guys have heard this too many times. I'll even type it just to further the point. Rumpelstiltskin is basically me inside out. That sounds so weird when I say it, but like the thing about Rumpelstiltskin is that I feel like he and I are polar opposites when it comes to how we express our emotions. Like for him, he's like a walking heart practically. Like you hurt him and he like just explodes with fury. Whereas for me, if you hurt me, I'm going to be a lot more quiet and thinking it through a lot more. But then on the inside, I'll be raging and storming. Whereas there are some stuff where if someone said that to me, I'd be like super affronted and say, "How dare you?" whereas he would just lean on his cane and say, "It's all going to plan." Also, Rumpelstiltskin has very similar hair to my own, so if nothing else, you can say it's Paul's look-alike. If you only watch the pilot, then I can see why you wouldn't like it, but I would say at the very least watch half of season 1, because then at the very least you'll get an idea of where the series is going, because the pilot is trying out a lot of things, and it blatantly contradicts one of the later episodes. Like, in the very first episode, Snow White says that the evil queen poisoned the apple because she was jealous of her beauty. That's actually not the reason at all. She actually poisoned the apple because Snow White was responsible for the death of her lover. So I think that's just that in the pilot, they tend to say stuff that doesn't necessarily carry over into the rest of the show. But to Once Upon a Time's credit, most of the stuff they said in the pilot ended up carrying into the later series. It was just that one line, and also the way Rumpelstiltskin styled his hair. Those big two things were pretty much the only major differences. Apart from that, everything carried over just great. Emma still acted like Emma. Rumpelstiltskin, his voice got he made his voice slightly higher in the later episodes, but I think that was also kind of the point. Was like once he was trapped in that cage, he was kind of just like, okay, no more magic for me. I'm just gonna wait out until the Storybrooke times comes. But in the past, he's more of like, I am the Dark One, dearie, and I am just ending up oozing with power. That was actually one of my worst impressions of him. If I weren't put on the spot, I could tell you so many of his isms. You know, now that I think about it, Once Upon a Time is one of the only shows where I can't imitate most of the characters. Like, normally I'm really good at voice acting, but not in Once Upon a Time. I can imitate them singing, like I can imitate the musical episode, but I probably wouldn't be able to imitate the. I love doing impressions, Zoe. In fact, most people actually have to double check that it's not a pre-recording of my voice when I do an imitation. Like one time I was on the phone and I was just casually imitating someone with a deep voice, and they said, "Is that still you talking, Paul, or did you play a YouTube clip?" And I said, "No, that was actually me." They're like, "I didn't know your voice could go that deep." And I say, "I'm a man of surprises, guys. There's a lot of stuff you don't know about me." My favorite impression would probably have to be, I mean, I really like Rumpelstiltskin, as you guys know. I like imitating Ron from Harry Potter. He's always a lot of fun. That Cockney accent is just so charmingly cheesy, but that's also part of what makes me love it. And then I would say, third thing I like imitating Monokuma from Danganronpa. Yeah, sure, I can do one right now. Let's see. Let me actually fetch my Deathly Hallows book so that I can quote something that isn't in the movies but is one of the characters. One moment. So, this book is very well loved, as you guys can see. I mean, this is my favorite novel ever, so of course it's going to be the one that I've probably read the most. So I'm going to do. Oh, shoot. I forgot. That might be spoilers. So I would want you guys to let me know if I should if you guys are willing to hear spoilers or not. If you guys tell me that you're good with spoilers, then I'll go ahead and do it. But I don't want to ruin the seventh book if you haven't read it yet. If you do say, no spoilers, please, then I'll just do Monokuma. Okay, good. Furim, what about you? Are you okay with spoilers? Because if you're okay with spoilers, I was going to do the chapter that's the same name as the book. The chapter simply called The Deathly Hallows, which is the one where the trio probably talks the most, where it's just nonstop them talking to each other. So I thought that would be the one where I guess you could say I oh 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 boy, Time Jester Jevil, of all the people. Man, I am so excited that you came here because I'm actually really excited for E3. Although, to be accurate, my excitement for E3 is more towards Nintendo's presentation than anything else. So, Jevil, before we continue talking, I just wanted to ask you a quick question. So, right before you got here, Zoe wanted me to imitate some of the voices from Harry Potter. I was curious if you were still reading the series, or are you okay with potential spoilers? Because I was going to read from the very last book. So, if you don't want spoilers, let me know right now and I can save it for another video. But yes, to answer your question about E3, I would love to see Rayman in Smash. I don't know how they would get him to work, but I would still like to see them try, especially because I really liked Rayman Legends. And yes, I played both versions. Okay, cool. So we're going to start. Here we go, page 424. Oh, I hope they don't kill him. That's why I wanted the Death Eaters to get a glimpse of Harry before we left, so they knew Sibelius hadn't been lying.
Why hide me, though?
You're supposed to be in bed with Spattergrape, Ron. They kidnapped Luna because her father supported Harry. What would happen to your family if they knew you're with him?
What about your mum and dad?
They're in Australia. They should be all right. They don't know anything.
You're a genius. Yeah, you are, Hermione. I don't know what we'd do without you.
Okay, I'm stopping there. I've been talking so long, I can't do it justice. I gotta have the right vocal cords for it, and that was just awful. One Harry Potter movie? Yeah, the first one is kind of boring compared to the later ones, but it's also the most faithful to the book. So that's what's it's really hard to it's really hard to it's really hard to recommend the all of the Harry Potter movies because in my opinion the first two are like ridiculously faithful to the books, almost to the point where it gets a little bit obsessive. Oh, you're welcome, Zoe. I'm glad you approved, even when my voice totally isn't in it at the moment. And then the third Harry Potter movie, oh my gosh. We don't talk about the third Harry Potter movie. The fourth one, it's okay. It captures the spirit of like teenage drama really well, and it does some pretty good action scenes, but it misses the whole murder mystery element that made the book so much fun to read. And then the fifth movie was also pretty good. I think it was fantastic considering that they had 870 pages in the book that they had to condense to a 2-hour movie. I think there were certain things that could have done better, especially in the opening act, but I think it was decent. Half-Blood Prince was terrible. It was so the best thing I can describe it is they missed the point of the book. And they ended up focusing more on the romance, which yes, the romance was in the book, but not that much romance. Like, come on, guys. Half of the book was devoted to figuring out what Voldemort was doing, whereas the book went for more of like 80% romance and only 20% Voldemort. And then the seventh movie was just fantastic. There were parts of it I didn't like, but overall, I think it was a worthy adaptation of my favorite book. Thank you, Firim. I'm glad you approve, even with a sore throat. Something weird going on. Well, Java, we've had this conversation quite a bit, and my response is pretty much still just I'm not much of a speculation guy. I'm more of just I'll hear people speculate, but I'm not going to personally speculate myself just because one, I don't want to get my hopes up. Two, I'm not really the futuristic type. I tend to plan for the immediate future as opposed to the unknowable future. And I also don't want to have to deal with leaks and rumors. Like, if a character gets in, cool. But if that character was rumored for like 3 years and then it gets in, it's like, you know, that kind of took the fun out of the surprise element of it. Although, at the very least, when Steve was revealed, when I was watching Steve's reveal trailer, I did not know that it was Steve, and that was just pretty brilliant. Well, How about this? If it is a rumor, Jeva, keep it to yourself, and I'll find out what it is on the 15th. And then we can both talk about the results after that, because I plan on watching it right at 11. That's my time zone, so you probably have it at a different time. So Zoe, did you say you read the whole Harry Potter series, or did you just watch all the movies? I keep forgetting which one is which. If you guys are wondering, I have a hair in my mouth, which is never fun to get rid of. The perks of having long hair. Gotta love it. Okay, good. So you know the whole series. That's great. Wait, Firam, you said you haven't read the books? Oh, I feel so sorry for you. At the very least, you gotta read Deathly Hallows. Like, you can skip all the other books if you want, but Deathly Hallows is just another level of awesome. I mean, a lot of people say that it's boring, but if you do the math, it's not as boring as people make it out to be. You're supposed to feel bored because that's how the trio is feeling. So the book does a good job of inserting you into Harry's mind so that when Harry feels hopeless, so do you as a reader. And again, that's just personal taste. You guys might say that's just bad writing because the reader is supposed to be invested the whole time. I was invested the whole time. But I think also in the case of Deathly Hallows, one thing that this book does really well is that it doesn't have a whole lot of philosophical undertones. For the most part, it's a pretty cut and dry story. It pretty much like tells you everything right off the bat, and you don't really have a whole lot that's left to interpretation. Granted, that last chapter, you could take it in many different directions depending on your religion, but I would like to say that it's both a very simple and a very complicated story at the same time, and that's what makes me consider it my favorite book. Well, actually, Jebel, you'll be glad to know that I was reading my notebook earlier. Well, sorry about that, guys. My notebook accidentally hit the cord for my webcam. And I apologize to you, Zoe. I'm about to go on a bit of a tangent for Jebel's sake. But this old notebook of mine actually has my old Smash predictions. So I was thinking maybe I can give you guys a little bit of a preview from when I eventually make a whole structured video out of this and say what I predicted for Smash back in the Brawl days of Smash. So this was like in 2009, 2010 that I made these predictions. So Smash for 3DS wasn't even heard of. So I'm only going to name the ones that I actually got right. If I didn't get one, I just won't say it. Good one, Firam. Yeah, my ceiling is nice and white. So I correctly sort of predicted Bowser's Castle, because that was the third stage of the Paper Mario stage, if you have hazards on. Did Sakurai actually say that? Because that would be cool if I could get a Steve amiibo. I also sort of predicted the Chibi house, which ended up being the living room, but close enough. Chibi Robo takes place in a living room. I said Me Plaza would be a stage. It ended up being a music remix, so I was sort of right there. Wily's Castle. I can't believe I actually guessed that one. Because I did say Mega Man is it. I'll say this later. You guys are probably getting bored. But there were a couple of things that I was saying back in like 2009, 2010 that ended up being true. And one of the biggest things that I was happy to have gotten right was Banjo and Kazooie. And now I can hold them in my hands. Gotta love it. So do you guys have any amazing plans for the summer, or are you like me where you're just living it day by day and not going to think about it too hard till it comes? Because my plans for summer are basically just a bunch of hangouts and E3. That's about it. Whoa, hey Darnell. Well, talk about a blast from the past. Guys, Darnell was one of my oldest friends. I've known him ever since I was in the single digits. So we go way back. Well, at least you watched most of the movies. That's good. Well, it's a good thing you came when you did, because man, I definitely wanted to avoid spoilers. But how are you, Darnell? Glad you can make it. You're saying you're going to study the huge exam, or you have to leave now to study for the exam? Because self-publishing, I self-published a book. I'm not going to tell you guys which one, because that might be, how do I word this? That might get into a little bit of personal territory. But if you get to know me well enough, maybe I'll let you know if, I don't know, if we become friends or something. Well, I wouldn't say I predicted Steve because I've never played Minecraft, but I can say it was a safe inevitability. Oh, okay. Okay, that's cool. Gotcha. Well, best of wishes for you, Zoe. If you ever need any tips on how to be a self-published author, you're looking at one. So you can always just start a random conversation in the comments of any of my videos and just say, Paul, I need help, and I'll be willing to help you out. Transcendence. So, dang, those are some big words. I would say my book was a financial disaster, but the people that liked it really liked it, and that's what counts. If you saw my latest video on my channel, you'd know that for me, I put my success ceiling very low so that it's easy for it to be surpassed. That way, I'm not like complaining that I don't have enough subscribers or I don't have enough views. I'm just like, hey, I said I'd be happy if I got 1 subscriber on my channel. Now I have over 500. Well, the making money part, I wouldn't be able to help you with because I usually average about $1 or 2 per copy. But I could tell you how to get started. But then again, you might also be, yeah, I did write a book, Fira. I can tell you about it later in the Discord because I don't really want to give personal information here on YouTube. But yeah, I can send you a link in Discord, and then you can be like, so that's what young Paul wrote about. E3 portal? What's an E3 portal? Do you mean like you're going to be able to talk to the developers in real time? Because I'm just going to watch Nintendo's live stream. I don't really care about any of the other companies. And not only that, but the Switch usually does a pretty good job of doing an E3 recap. Like there will probably be a news article that pops up that says, here are all the titles that were announced at E3, like they did with E3 2019. Dang, Darnell, you're just like me. I started out by watching the first 2 movies, then I skipped to Goblet of Fire, then I watched the 3rd movie, and then I read the books all the way through, and then I watched the rest of the movies as they came out. So I was all over the place in terms of the books. My sister, she watched bits and pieces of all the movies over time. Like I think she first watched the 1st movie, then she skipped to the 6th, and then it was the 5th, and then the 2nd, then the 3rd, then the 4th, then the last, something like that. It was weird. I actually do make quite a few online friends, Zoe. I'm friends with Isabel's Psychology Life Hacks. You've heard me talk about her quite a bit. I'm friends with Alex. He commented a lot on some of my older videos. I mean, Darnell and I, we've known each other for years, way before YouTube was even a thing. So I guess you could say that's a sort of an online friend. Oh, not a problem. If you're do what you need to do. Thanks for stopping by. But yeah, I do make online friends. Most of the time, those online friends aren't particularly deep, but every now and then I hit a winner. Like I said, Isabel's Psychology Life Hacks. She and I are such good friends. We even did a collaboration together, which takes an incredible amount of trust to do something like that. Oh, cool. Glad John Paul can stop by. Man, oh, that was so cool meeting him. Yeah. You still have You still have loved that joke I made. But I do have an Isabelle amiibo. It just would be awkward trying to get it right now because my table is in the way. But I do have an Isabelle amiibo. I think I have every Animal Crossing amiibo that's been released so far except Autumn Outfit Isabelle. I think that's the only one I'm missing out of all of them. But apart from that, I have every single one that's ever been made. Oh wait, no, I'm also missing the Smash Isabelle. So the two versions of Isabelle. Irony. Those are the only ones that I don't have. Yeah, amiibos that I don't have. That's a pretty short list. I don't have any of the Monster Hunter amiibos, but I've heard that those are really rare, and most of them are only in Japan. I don't have QB from Box Boy, although I plan on getting him if I ever get some money. I don't have Solera Vastora, and I don't have Terry yet. I plan on it. And I don't have the alternate versions of Cloud or Bayonetta. I don't have Smash Mario or Smash Luigi for that matter. I don't have Mario Party Wario or Wedding Bowser. Yeah, there's not too much that I don't have. Why, hello, friend. That's what you said, right, JP? Because my Spanish isn't what it used to be. Well, my advice might not be the best, Zoe, because I'm kind of a bit of a unique case. But if you ever need advice on how to make online friends, you can always ask me, because I'd like to think just meeting Isabelle online and still being friends with her is good enough for me. Like, if I don't meet any other online friends besides her, that's good. Good for me. I got it right? Woo! I know a little bit of Spanish, guys. So how are you, JP? We were it seems like I tell you this every time you pop up, but we were talking about the mission trip earlier, and we were reminiscing not only about the trip itself, but about the layout of the buildings and how I seem to just have a photographic memory of the entire building. Except for the hallways in the boys' area. That I don't 100% remember, but I do remember the lounge area. Glad to hear you're still going strong. I always worry about the mission trip people because I feel like after the mission trip, they sort of like resume their daily lives as nothing happened. So glad to know that you guys are not falling into that trap. All right, guys, I'm going to be right back. Got to take a quick bathroom break. So if you want to talk amongst yourself, if not, that's cool. Just whatever you feel comfortable with. I will be right back. Alrighty. Alrighty, folks. I'm back. Back and with a better camera angle. There we go. Let's see. Okay, I'll answer your question in a minute, Zoe. I wanna answer Darnell's real quick. My favorite Nintendo console, if we're being super specific about the difference between a console and a handheld, my favorite Nintendo console would be probably the Switch, just because it's really convenient. And there's a lot of really cool stuff that came on the Switch that didn't happen on the Wii U because Nintendo was really weird during the Wii U. Like, pretty sure we wouldn't have gotten Banjo and Kazooie working in Smash for Wii U, even if they did approve, probably because I'm not going to get into Nintendo's decisions during that time. And then the worst Nintendo console, I'd like to say the Virtual Boy, but I've never played it. So my personal least favorite Nintendo console is the NES. I just think it's too much of a pain to set up, and you got to keep blowing into the cartridges. Most of the games aren't even that good, so it's just a big hunk of plastic to me. But my favorite Nintendo handheld would be the 3DS, and I'm pretty sure you guys know why. There's a lot of awesome games on it. It can play DS games, so that means I officially have all 3 Zero Escape games in the palm of my hand. The worst handheld. I haven't actually played the original Game Boy, but I would imagine that's the worst. But of the consoles that I played, of the handhelds that I played, I'd probably say the Game Boy Color. Again, just because its games feel kind of pointless in light of the 3DS Virtual Console. Most of them weren't very good. I was terrible at Donkey Kong Land. Really, it just didn't feel worth it. Oh, that's cool, Jeva. All right, Zoe. So to answer your question about making online friends, also make sure to let me know if you're still here, because I don't want to just talk to myself if you're not. So one of the first pieces of advice to making online friends is to find a common interest. I think if you're going to make an online friend, you definitely have to start with something that you both like. And this goes for any type of online exclusive meetup. Like, even if you're not, how do I word this? Like, you wouldn't join a group on Facebook if you weren't actually interested in the subject of the Facebook group. Like, you wouldn't join a Facebook group for gamers if you weren't a gamer. So in the same way, in an online forum where everyone is talking about the same thing, that automatically accelerates the friendship process. Because, like, say you're walking down the street and you talk to someone, you automatically have to think of something to say, and you have no idea whatsoever what that person is like besides their outward appearance. Whereas at the very least, if you go to something like E3 or an anime convention, you know, okay, everyone here is going to be obsessed with anime. Everyone here is going to be a gamer. So if you're on YouTube and you're looking for someone to talk about psychology, go to a psychology channel. I happen to like psychology, so that right there has accelerated you and me if we were to ever become friends. If you need any other advice, I can totally give it, but let me get to Jevel's question real quickly. Zero Escape 4. Oh, I actually tried making a Zero Escape 4 one time, but I didn't get past chapter 1 because I'm not Kotaro Uchikoshi. I don't have that mastermindy brain like he does. I would make it from the perspective of Mira and Eric, because in the secret files, it says that Mira was sentenced to death row, and Eric agreed to get married in jail. And just as Mira was about to get executed, Sean broke through the door and he said, I know where the transporter is, and I'm going to send you guys back in time so that you can create a timeline where you stopped yourself from becoming the Heart Ripper. So in other words, there's going to be a timeline where Mira meets herself. The problem is that the ramifications for that are interesting, because then the question becomes, is it only one timeline where that happens, or does that mean Mira's going to undo the current timeline? But I don't think that's actually possible, because in Zero Escape it seems like the rule is that if something happens, it always happens. So just as Sigma couldn't stop the virus from happening, like that was an inevitability, and the timeline without a virus was an entirely separate thing, I'm pretty sure Mira will not be able to undo the Zero Escape series, but rather create a timeline where 999 didn't happen. That's what I would do if I could make a Zero Escape 4. Well, my advice is just don't treat it as a conversation at first. Treat it as a comment. So, for example, let's pretend that you and I are going to be friends. You would start by making a comment on one of my videos about, let's take my Myers-Briggs videos, just to be with something that you're familiar with. And you say, oh, wow, I think that I might have extroverted thinking as well. What are your thoughts on it? Already you've established that common interest. So then I would reply, oh, extroverted thinking, I'm glad you asked. Here's what I have to say. Then after I say that, then you respond. There you go. And honestly, I don't know if this would apply to online friends, but I have made friends with people by just observing their t-shirts. Like, I met this girl on mission trip. I was just giving advice on how to make friends online, JP. I said that the biggest piece of advice is to find someone who shares your interests. Because if you meet someone in real life, you don't know anything about them besides what they look like. But if you're online, you pretty much have to meet someone through some kind of mutual interest forum. Like, even if it's a dating app, I still don't think that's the best way to meet friends or partners. I mean, it's possible, but I don't think it's a good idea, because with dating, they could be interested in a variety of things and you don't know how to initiate a conversation. Whereas if you're like on, say, a Facebook group about personality, then you could just say, here are my thoughts on personality. And then, boom, people are going to respond to it. You can go ahead and spoil Jevil, but I would say that my review only talks about the Game of Fate. So anything after that is pretty much completely untouched. So if you just want to hear my opinions on the game, it doesn't show footage from beyond that. Well, I think the reason why we're not friends is always because you didn't ask. But if you want to become friends, that's totally fine by me. Just as long as you're at least 18, that's all I ask. But yeah, usually the best thing to do is just to ask. I mean, it doesn't hurt. If someone says no, my gosh, the online community is huge. Like, there's so many people that can share an interest. Yes, back into existence, Furum. You were in non-existence before, but now you are back in the present reality. And thank you for the 4th like, guys. I seriously have no idea how I even do this. What am I doing that's getting me all these likes? I have no idea. Yeah, I didn't notice that until you said that, Jevil. That's pretty cool. So, Jevil, you'll be glad to know that I actually made a Danganronpa reference in my video where I compiled all of the routes for the 3DS and Wii U fighters in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. So if you know where to look, you'll be like, oh my gosh, did Paul really just say that? Well, in that case, Zoe, then I'll take the reins. Would you like to be my friend, assuming you're at least 18? I actually put a lot of references into my stuff, Jevil. Like, if you watch more of my game. You'll find so many inside jokes. Once I do my Miitopia review, I am really excited for how many characters and catchphrases that I'm going to do that you guys will say, oh, you like that, Paul? That's cool. So how are you liking World's End Club so far, Jevil? Yeah, I actually bought a converter cable at Best Buy that allows me to... Oh. Oh, okay then, Zoe. Well, how about this? If you have either Twitter or Discord, just send me a message and we can start from there. I think I remember what you're talking about, Jevil. You're talking about how they kind of had a display of everyone that showed up on the screen. Oh, I'm glad you're loving it. World's End Club, my overall opinion of it, without getting into the details of my review, is fantastic story, terrible gameplay. That's my verdict on it. And it's one thing to watch someone play it, but it's another to actually play it and have the characters not do what you want them to do. And that's where I kind of drew the line, because it's like, I play Mario games that are harder than this. Why is it that this game is so frustrating to control? But I did really like the musical numbers in World's End Club. I don't know if you've gotten that far yet, but you'll know it when you get there, and you'll know what I'm talking about. Well, that's strange. What's your username, Zoe? Because it might have to be that I have to friend you as well. But sometimes people have different names on Twitter than they do on YouTube. So if you could just tell me your Twitter name, I'll see if I can start something. Well, now that you mention it, I should probably give my Twitter link to everyone here, because some of you might want to follow me on Twitter as well. So I'm just loading it up real quick. Here we go. And if you don't want to remember that giant, long, annoying link, you guys can just look up Catholic Gaming Nerd. I'm pretty sure I'm the only one there. I actually haven't watched any of Pegasus's World's End Club streams, Jeffel, mainly because she does them at the same time as the Zero Escape streams, and I guess you could say I haven't put in the strong commitment as I did with those games. I may end up doing walkthroughs of World's End Club eventually, but it'll definitely be a while so that I can piece together what happened and find out a way to translate those really bizarre Japanese names, because not everyone can keep up with that. Let's see, where are my followers? I have more followers than followings. Ah, here we go. All right, Zoe, I think I sent you a message, assuming you're the one that has the big brain as your profile picture and talking all about psychology. Sadly, I did not know that, Jevil, because I never watched Dragon Ball, so I wouldn't know the reference even if you pointed it out. Well, if you're going to have any NES game, Duck Hunt is the way to go. The problem with Duck Hunt, though, is that when I tried playing it on my modern TV, it could not hit the ducks at all, no matter how hard I tried. Not a problem, JP. I honestly would probably give up my social media if it weren't for certain friends of mine that are really, really hard to get a hold of. Some of my friends, I don't have their numbers yet, so I have to ask them for it on Facebook so that I don't have to contact them on Facebook a lot. So I also probably would miss out on talking to my mission trip buddies if I had gotten rid of Facebook. So Facebook is a no-go. Twitter I would get rid of if it wasn't for the fact that I follow or not follow. That sometimes I use Twitter to keep up with Nintendo. I got every sticker except one in World's End Club, or not one, four. I'm missing 4 stickers in World's End Club. That's it. Apart from that, I have done everything. Good one, Furum. Yeah, this is honestly the most I've talked in a long time. Just because you guys are so amazing. Honestly, you guys kind of blow my mind with how you're willing to stick around. Such a considerably more boring stream than what like a lot of our mutual friends do on their channels. Then again, they don't have Banjo and Kazooie in their background, so that might be a contributing factor. Oh, there's Zero Escape references if you know where to look. There already were quite a few in the opening of the Game of Fate if you knew where to look. But yeah, this was done by the same guy who directed Zero Escape, and one of the guys who did Danganronpa also helped with the scenarios. So they kind of worked together and created their own studio. Was that a reference to Untitled Goose Game Theorem, or are you just being silly? Because I still haven't played Untitled Goose Game, just because I think a game where you invoke mischief on a bunch of people doesn't seem like my kind of cup of tea. I might review it eventually if I ever get a Patreon, but for now, I don't know. I might pass. Actually, you guys just gave me an idea. Yeah, I want to know. Okay, this is a serious. Good one, JP. I love it. Sounds like the kind of jokes I make. Okay, guys, I want to officially transition to that question because as I was thinking out loud, I realized, you know what? There was a fan in one of my live streams who suggested that he would buy Hades for me, but then I ended up renting it because it got a physical version. But if I were to start up a Patreon, do you guys think I should, or do you guys think I should just continue working for nothing? Because if I were to start up a Patreon, I wouldn't want to force anyone to donate. It would be for very specific reasons. Like they'd say, Paul, I'm giving you $20 to go and buy a Pokemon game so that you can review it. Like something along those lines where it's like, I'm doing this because I want you to do it, not because I'm just trying to support you because you keep begging for it, Paul. Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm not doing sponsors. No, no way am I doing sponsors. I hate sponsors. I hate sponsors. I hate ads. I just hate all of that. Honestly, YouTube, first and foremost, is a hobby for me, and I don't plan on making. Oh, that's cool, Zoe. Well, I guess you're vote number 1. Currently, Jevils voted no, so that makes it a complete tie thus far. I'll probably, if I do end up voting yes for Patreon, I'll probably make a whole YouTube video, but I'll probably make a part 1 saying, should I get a Patreon? And then the part 2 will be, here's my Patreon. I probably won't advertise it a whole lot just because I feel like that can make the video a little bit too long, and then people won't want to watch it because it's too long, but we'll see. But again, it'd have to be very, very specific costs. Like, I wouldn't want it to be my job or anything like that. Oh my gosh, that's a nightmare. But if you guys were like, Paul, use this money and go pay the bills, or Paul, this money will feed your cat. I don't actually have a cat. I was just being hypothetical. But like you guys would be totally in charge of telling me what the money went for, even if it went for something on this channel. Like you could say, Paul, I'm going to give you money to buy a new webcam because your webcam stinks. I mean, this is a great webcam in my opinion, but it has a hard time holding onto my computer. Anyway, I'm out of water, guys, so just saying I might be wrapping up pretty soon if things slow down, because my throat is starting to get really sore and scratchy. I've actually streamed for way longer than I usually do, so you guys have really kept me entertained. Zoe, did I find you on... Yes, it would be exactly like a tip jar, Zoe. If I have to pay to keep a Patreon page up, then I probably wouldn't get it at all. But if it's one of those things where it's like YouTube supports me or my fans support me, whatever they can do, then I don't know. We'll see what happens. Zoe, was I able to send you a successful Twitter message? Because I think I found you on Twitter. Ah, gotcha. Well, I'm in no rush. Just whenever you feel like responding to it, go for it. Ah, good. Glad I had the right person. Well, what I think I'll do as a compromise, because some people like to show up late, I will stream for 5 more minutes, and I've got my watch set as like a timer. So once 5 minutes are up, so if you guys have to go soon, this might be good. So we've got 1 invalid vote, 1 yes, and 1 no. This is turning out to be an interesting polling system. Yeah, I think I might just go ahead and make a whole video. You know, Darnell, I was honestly hoping that Deathborn would be a character in F-Zero, because I played F-Zero GX, and I thought he was kind of cool. I think the reason why Captain Falcon was represented in Smash 64 was because that game wasn't originally meant for Nintendo characters. It was just going to be a generic fighting game. So they ended up changing it to Nintendo characters, but they wanted that original moveset to be intact. And they couldn't think of a better character to do it, so they made it Captain Falcon, because he was a Nintendo character. So Captain Falcon, you could technically say, was the very first Smash fighter, because his moveset was back when I think it was only called like Battle Royale 64 or something like that, when it was very early in development. So you could say he was kind of a shoehorned character, because he had never appeared in another game outside of his vehicle before then. I mean, yeah, F-Zero X had his profile picture. Oh, don't worry, guys. I can YouTube channels take time, they take patience, and they also take people who are willing to wait for the videos to come out. Like, I really appreciate my community for giving me a good leeway with I really appreciate my YouTube community for giving me good leeway with my Miitopia review, because that game is taking so darn long. And I'm glad you guys are so patient with me. But then again, hardly anyone watches my video game reviews to begin with, so I don't think I really need to worry at all. I think I just worry for my own sake, just because I like the idea of reviewing something close to when it comes out, mainly because I want to the critics. But one thing I can say is I was the very first person on YouTube to review Evergate. I don't know if that's a thing to brag about, because that's a pretty niche game by a small indie company that hadn't made a game before, but the composer noticed. So that must have meant I did something right, because I don't know if he commented on any other reviews of Evergate. Maybe it was also just because I praised the soundtrack, which, by the way, if you folks haven't heard yet, the composer of Evergate actually gave me his soundtrack for free. Oh, man. And then I made a whole video about it, and he still hasn't even seen it. Poor guy. Probably super busy with his other projects. Okay, I've got 2 minutes left before my voice goes out, so if you guys wanted to say your goodbyes, I would highly recommend doing that now so that I don't abruptly cut you off. I mean, I'll give you a little bit of leeway, but not too much. But anyway, it was really good seeing you all. Typing with you all, I guess, would be a more accurate term. And this was a great substitute to going to the lake. I think I might do this more often. Maybe not every single day, because I really want to take advantage of the lake when I actually have one near me, but you guys have definitely given me a good idea. Man, it's getting too dark to go to the lake now, so I think you guys have officially taken over my previous plan. Pencil animation? Whoa, that's so cool, JP. Hey, if you can, comment on a random video of mine and let me know when you do that, because I think that's a fascinating art form. Yeah, I'm glad you could make it, Zoe. You were the person I was hoping to show up the most, so I'm glad of all the people that showed up, you did. Not to say I don't value you guys showing up, but Zoe specifically asked for me to do more streams. So that's why I called her out. But I'm happy to see all of you guys. Yeah, great to see you again, Firim. Always a pleasure. And JP, it was really great to see you again. Best of wishes on your pencil animation. Jevil, Darnell, I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Yeah, I definitely plan on getting Danganronpa if it ever comes to the Switch. It's a great series. Very mature rated, but also very nice. Alright, guys. Well, my throat is just about reaching its limit, so thank you very much for sticking around as long as you did. Hopefully I can do this again sometime. So until the next time, God bless, and get a throat lozenge if you've been talking as much as me. Bye!